All right. We are live again.
We are so very live.
All right. I tweeted again with the new link.
I will do the same. Let's go.
All right. Okay, so let me get everything straight. All right, and let me not forget this part. So, all right. Gaiden 7.
Good evening, everyone watching, listening out there live on the interwebs, perhaps at Rebelli TV on YouTube, or if you're watching and tuning in at diamondclub.tv, good evening. Hello, thank you, DJM, alongside PD Ray for another episode of the Fanny Pack Wrestling Podcast. Thank you all for tuning in.
Yeah. All right. I think we are ready to do the thing. All right. I'm just going to do it manually, as in vocally. All right. Yeah, let's just get started.
Go.
Fanny Pack Wrestling in 3, 2, 1. Fanny Pack Wrestling is a proud member of Diamond Club and the Freaking Awesome Network. Check out more great content at diamondclub.tv and freakingawesomenetwork.com.
Here we go! Mucha lucha, mucha lucha. It's a way of life. Mucha lucha, mucha lucha.
Buenos nachos, amigos, and welcome back to another fantastic edition of the Fanny Pack Wrestling Podcast. Another Gaiden, another sojourn, another side journey. I'm PD Rave, and I'm going to be honest, there was a good time whenever I heard the name of the wrestler Ricochet, I would think of Mucha Lucha. Here with me, as always, is none other than my tag team partner, my buddy, David Jeffrey Majors, a.k.a. DJM. How you doing, Deej?
Hello, PD Ray. Rumors of the Fanny Pack Wrestling Podcast demise have been greatly exaggerated. I am back. We are back. We're doing a Gaiden episode because it's time to talk Lucha Libre, traditional Lucha Libre.
Yes. Traditional at multiple levels of tradition. Let's start by telling the story. about a little while back and how we ended up combining two events together. A little while back, you brought up the idea of doing and covering Triplemania, and we'll start with Triplemania. Of course, AAA being the promotion, the home promotion for many of the talents that we talked about when we covered Lucha Underground. And then they had their big event, their Mania, their this is our big event of the year, Triplemania. Deej, how about giving a little context to the viewers on Triplemania and AAA?
AAA is currently the largest Lucha Libre promotion in Mexico. Lucha Libre, of course, being the Mexican pro wrestling that we're all, at least to some degree, familiar with. The Mexican wrestling, the technical style, the clean style, the story of the Rudos, the Technicos, the masked wrestlers, the Exoticos, and everything that we all get a little taste of with possibly a little Tex-Mex American flavor from Lucha Underground. A little bit of the influence that we've seen creep into the world of Chikara. Here it is with AAA in its pure, slightly sports entertaining form.
Yes,
that we see with AAA.
Yeah, AAA, key thing to remember, AAA, and I'm looking at all this on Wikipedia, was founded in 92 when Antonio Peña broke away from the promotion we will talk about later in the episode, Consejo Mundial de Lucha Libre, to kind of set up a promotion with more creative freedom on his side. More creative freedom. And then Conan showed up at some point. But yeah, they are Asistencia, Asesoría y Administración. Those are the 3 A's that make AAA. And this was Triplemania. Deej, I have to ask, when, because we had talked about doing this show before we had seen it, what were your expectations when you were broaching, when you were thinking of checking out this show?
My expectations were, given the last 8-9 months or so, AAA had kind of built up a pretty good reputation of having a fairly strong talent roster of lucha talent and a few smatterings of independent talent from all over the world. And they had put on some good major shows. They had signed some very large names in the wrestling world. And I saw AAA, this recent Triplemania show, as their chance, their opportunity to stake their claim on the global wrestling stage. Not unlike what New Japan Pro Wrestling did with Wrestle Kingdom 9, this was AAA's opportunity to stake their claim as the preeminent Lucha Libre promotion in the world.
Mm-hmm. And a big part of that was them doing like New Japan did, English commentary. Special English commentary with Matt Stryker and Hugo Savinovich on, Hugo Savinovich on as the analyst, and Matt Stryker as the play-by-play guy, doing their thing. Let's get into it.
Let's talk about Triplemania then. Sure.
Triplemania. So, what? As soon as it started up, what was your impression of what it, when it booted up, when the pageantry started? What was your first impressions of AAA?
My hopes were high. I was going to say, okay, it's Arena Mexico, it's Mexico City, it's a big crowd, we've got a main event, we've got a world title match, we've got, all of the stuff like the hair versus hair match, we've got a trios tag, we've got the Villanos, we got all of this stuff that I know about Lucha Libre, complete with a main event that could truly be a big match on any card anywhere in the world, which would see Rey Mysterio Jr. taking on Mr. C's, the man formerly known as Mystico and also formerly known as Sin Cara. So, jumping right in, this looked like it had potential to be a knockout.
Yeah, but it had potential to have some really cool stuff, but then it kind of started. Yeah. And the production value problems started.
Yeah, there were some very clear technical issues, most notably with the audio, most notably with the English commentary. Hugo Savinovich, best known as formerly being the Spanish analyst for the WWE, was stuck a lot of times with translating what people in Mexico were saying live over the microphone, where Matt Stryker had to do his best to kind of tell the story, and Hugo did the best he could to provide a little bit of color to the whole event. But more than anything, the technical issues with the video of the stream and the actual broadcast, the broadcast to Mexico, and most notably the English commentary for minutes at a time, were completely gone. And
there was just a couple of matches. There was just like entire matches where there was no Hugo Savinovich. There was just Matt Stryker on his own, and with a lot of quiet, which you could assume it was supposed to be Hugo Savinovich talking, but you didn't hear anything. You could maybe hear it from Matt Stryker's microphone,
right,
because he was next to him, but that's about it. And that's a bad showing. That's
not a good look, Luna. It's not a good look at all.
Yeah. Let's talk about. We talk about the production before we go back to more negative. Let's talk about some of the positives. What will be some of the highlights for you? We talk about getting on some highlights. What would be some of the highlights for you?
Well, I'll say that the trios steel cage match for the AAA World Trios Championship between Los Hell Brothers and Los Guerreros de Cielo. That was pretty great.
Yes.
I've said many times, I love, I'm just checking. Yeah, I love the team of Angelico and Jack Evans.
Mm-hmm.
They are terrific.
I dug Angelico's use of the GoPro.
Yes.
I would love to see that footage.
And of course, the living legend, Jack Evans from the heavens.
Yes.
He needs no introduction. And teaming with them, a guy who is like equally the crazy high flyer, Phoenix, or Phoenix, as it's pronounced, taking on this really cool Rudo team of
Los Hell Brothers. Averno, Chessman, and Cibernetico. These are names to know in Lucha Libre.
They are definitely names to know. And man, they had like the coolest look altogether.
I'm familiar with them, and from seeing some Lucha Libre, and seeing those Hell Brothers is fantastic. They just have a really cool look. Also in the match, the third trio, El Hijo de Fantasma, Pentagon Jr., and El Tejano Jr. A lot of kids,
and he's junior in AAA. He's not just Tejano as he is in Lucha Underground.
Yeah, El Tejano Jr.
And Petey, let me just say, I'm going to apologize because personally, I feel not totally unlike Matt Stryker in this position, where I am enthusiastically interested, but I'm going to sound like a stupid American and mispronounce all the things.
Yes.
And I'm sorry.
You know what? It's only fair. It's not Japanese. I think that's where your strong suit is. You got the Japanese down. I'll take I'll take the Spanish. Okay, I'll take the Spanish. I'm not going to say I do exceptionally well, but as long as Jaime doesn't show up to point out exactly how imperfect I am, I'll be okay. I can fool people.
All right.
But yeah, the three-way trios was fantastic. Had a lot of great moments. Had a lot of great feel to it. And I will say that on top of that, I did enjoy. Ending aside, I did enjoy the main event, I guess we can leave the main event for its own discussion. And I did enjoy the El Patron Alberto, or Alberto Patron, and Brian Cage with the hair versus hair, the lucha de apuesta.
I know I have sung the praises of Alberto El Patron for years and years and years across the internet wrestling community. And man, I say it again. That man is a world champion. Book him as your world champion and let him make you money. Just point blank. And Brian Cage, he is a freak of nature. He's awesome.
He is a fucking machine.
And best of all, in AAA, his entrance music is a song by my favorite band in the world, Dream Theater. He uses the song As I Am. So I can never hate him now. He's a Dream Theater fan. We share something that goes beyond pro wrestling. So, and the match itself from start to finish was really, really cool. I don't usually like the whole heel referee challenging the babyface stuff, but I was willing to let that slide because it did turn out the right way.
Yeah. There was an abundance and an acceptance of the heel referees that I was a little meh about. I was a little sour on, like the fact that there's a Rudo referee, like they have that alliance. Like, just it's not like somebody just is bad at their job. They're, you know what, that guy's just a Rudo. It's like, well, no, that guy's bad at his job.
There was a guy like that in Dragon Gate too, and also back in the day. In WCW, senior official Nick Patrick was a heel referee, and he eventually became the NWO referee. He reffed under a hood, but it was Nick Patrick. So I know that there is a precedence for the Rudo referee. I've just always been kind of about it.
I think
I have mixed feelings about the idea of the referee being a part of the show.
Exactly. I think it always goes back to maybe being more in the more in the camp of the traditional idea of if the referee's doing his job, you don't notice him at all.
Sure.
And as much as he is a part of the match, he's an integral part of the match, of course, but he should be visible. Children should be seen, not heard.
I believe we have our show title, PD.
Yes. Referees should be seen, not heard. Unless it's counting the count. And also, what were your thoughts on the and this is such a nitpicky thing, I guess it's a tradition thing, the count cadence.
Oh, this is something I hate about Lucha Libre so much. It's the worst thing. It's the worst. It's the worst. Like the referee stands there, and then he checks. He checks to see if their shoulder's down. Then he kneels down, and then he raises his hand, and then goes 1, and then checks again 2, and then checks again, and then they kicked out at 2. It's the absolute.
They kicked out at 7. It's
like, jeez.
It is the worst, and God's bless Matt Stryker for having to hard sell, like in that as being great lucha tradition. Those guys having to push that, even though they probably know in the back of their mind. The only reason they brought it up as something that they have to explain to the international audience is because they know it's bullshit, and people are going to think it's bullshit when they were watching. So they thought,
and it is
bullshit.
Question to any Lucha Libre aficionados out there: are they training any new younger referees? Yeah. Possibly ones that don't weigh as much.
Yeah.
Possibly some that might be able to keep up with the guys that are working.
Yeah. That was a problem with the AAA.
Send us an reply at Fanny Pack WP and just let us know. We'd like to know if there are, younger, more in shape refs that can, keep up with the match?
Yeah. Yeah, we would like to know. That would be good information for us.
Also, I just want to say, I don't want to go without mentioning the opening match of this show, because it had a little bit of everything. It had Drago, it had Pimpinela Escarlata, it had Sexy Star, and it also had Goya Kong, who I could not help but enjoy.
Yes. Goya Kong, who is just the right kind of ridiculous.
She's wonderful. She's wonderful.
She's wonderful. She's just wonderful and fun, and kind of hilarious. I'm a little back and forth on the exoticos, because there's a part of me in the back of my mind that kind of considers it gay blackface.
Yeah, because I understand where you're coming from on that one, and I think this was on the AAA show, or it might have been this one. One of the exoticos was actually a straight dude that is married and has a son. So when I read that, I thought, that was kind of weird. But then you think about Pimpinela, you think about Cassandro, and then, well, I guess that's just kind of a weird space that in Lucha Libre it's okay.
It's I guess. I still have my reservations. But Goya Kong was fantastic. Drago, doing his thing, he was awesome. You gotta love the tongue and the style. Sexy Star was pretty fantastic. She is a talent, and I like that. She was shown, she showed that in Lucha Underground, and she's shown that here, and I love kind of seeing her here. And she's definitely a fun, cool talent, Sexy Star. But yeah, Goya Kong.
Goya Kong is great. Yes. The Fanny Pack Wrestling Podcast gives Goya Kong 4 thumbs up. 4 thumbs up for Goya Kong. But now, PD Rave, let's jump into the main event of this show.
Yes. The main event, which saw Rey Mysterio Jr. Taking on the man known as Mystices. The man at one time, and I guess at this time, because he's going to keep the thing, as the El Príncipe de Plata y Oro, the Prince of Silver and Gold, or Platinum and Gold. The Prince of Silver and Gold, Mystices, formerly known as Sin Cara, formerly known as Místico, now Mystices, in a singles match, a match, a billed as a dream match, big game feel, big match feel. They definitely played it up quite a bit. How did you feel it lived up to the dream match status?
I was pleasantly surprised. I was pleasantly surprised to see that Rey Mysterio still has more gas in the tank than I thought he did. I am glad to see him as revered as he is in Mexico, because he deserves it. In more than just Mexico, he deserves it. He deserves it. He deserves that level of reverence. When Rey came out to the ring, Matt Stryker said it best. There is only one Rey Mysterio Jr. It is because of Rey Mysterio Jr. that the idea, the concept of Lucha Libre has a place on the global stage of professional wrestling. Rey Mysterio Jr. was, for all intents and purposes, the first masked luchador to really exceed on the global stage.
Yeah.
And he deserves that recognition. Místico, was for a long time the second biggest wrestling draw in the world to John Cena.
Yes.
This is a dream match. Most places in the world, if not being a main event in Mexico, this would be a very, very close to top of the card match anywhere in the world. And I would say that it was not disappointing. And I liked that they actually had a story in mind after the match ended.
Yeah. They build up to something. They built to something. They built it through the match as well. To Mystic's solidification as a Rudo. Ultimately, yeah, they built it well during the match. They had those moments throughout the match that's like peppered in there, right, like here and there. I would say the end, the post match execution of the story, was a little confusing based on like who was attacking who.
Right.
How did that set up for what? And then them running out of airtime didn't help either.
That was so WCW. And
that was literally WCW.
That's not a good look either.
No. And I was like, that is not a good look either. They cut off right when, and apparently what happened was Conan recruited Mystices into the association, la sociedad, the society. As the show went off air, Mystices declined to join Conan's La Sociedad. It was like when Mysterio Jr. offered a handshake, Mystices spit a liquid in Mysterio's eyes and declared that he did not care about the fans or Mysterio Jr. He later challenged Mysterio to put his mask on the line in a Lucha de Apuestas match. As the show went off the air, Mystices declined to join Conan's La Sociedad. La Sociedad. La Sociedad. That made me laugh. Stating that he was on his own. Of course, none of this was readily apparent on the actual event video.
I like the idea of Mr. C's being the top heel in Mexico because he was the top technico for so long. However, there are two guys now that suitably take his place, Alberto El Patron and Rey Mysterio Jr. You could almost say that Mr. C's is almost in a kind of CM Punk-like position where he's the top guy, but now he's been usurped by these guys who came from somewhere else, and now he's pissed. And that's not uncommon pro wrestling story. That's something you can run with. I don't know if they specifically said if this match between Ray and Mr. C's will be mask versus mask, or if Mr. C's just challenged for Ray's mask.
So presumably it's going to be a Lucha de Apuestas on both ends. I think that's the assumption.
Okay.
Mascara
contra mascara.
If you're asking for somebody's mask, the presumption is you're putting your mask on the line.
Which leads us into CMLL's Aniversario.
CMLL Aniversario. CMLL 82nd. That's the big one. Speaking of, CMLL is, like I mentioned before, Consejo Mundial de Lucha Libre. It is the original home of Mystices, where he cut his teeth as Mystico. It is also home to of current Mystico.
And it is also the original home of the man formerly known as Dos Caras Jr., now known as Alberto El Patron.
Exactly. It is the four most traditional conservative Lucha Libre. If AAA is your taste of traditional Lucha Libre, this is the truth. This is the true thing. If certain other bands are your taste of prog rock, this is Rush. CMLL is
AAA is Lucha Libre with sports entertainment sprinkled. CMLL is Lucha Libre with no extra toppings.
Exactly. It is.
And it is also, it needs to be said, CMLL is the world's longest running, still active wrestling promotion.
Yes. It is 82nd year, anniversary. That is not a misnomer. That is not a typo. That's 82nd years, 82 years of doing their anniversary shows, 82 years old. That is a long running show. It's a long running promotion with a lot of tradition. And this was definitely
just for a frame of reference. Vince McMahon II took the World Wrestling Federation from his father only roughly just about 3.5 decades ago.
Yes.
And Vince McMahon I made the Worldwide Wrestling Federation his promotion from the Capital Wrestling Company in the 1950s and early 60s. So
Yes.
AAA was around decades before that.
CMLL was around decades before that. Like, it is I guess one of the originals. I mean, used to be the Mexican Empire of Lucha Libre, but now is the World Wrestling Council. And it is definitely more traditional. Like, for example, all but 2 of the matches were trios, 3-on-3. They all but 1 of the matches were best 2 out of 3 falls. All but 2 of the matches were 3-on-3, and it took me a few matches to figure it out, but I finally figured it out. It is quite a few of the matches were the traditional Lucha Libre rules, 3-on-3, best 2 out of 3 falls tag team match. And let me explain it a little bit as I figure it out. It's 2 teams of 3. Each team has a captain. It is best out of 3 falls. How you win a fall is either, I believe, captain v. captain, captain pinning the captain, I believe. I'm not sure if it's captain. It might be anybody pinning the captain, but I'm thinking it's captain pinning the captain. Or pin the 2 non-captains pinning the other 2 non-captains. And that's how you win 1 fall. And that goes to 3 falls. That's where you're going to see that's important info to know, because you're going to see moments where you could swear that was 1 fall, but that guy pinned that guy and that guy pinned that guy. It's like, what's going on? There were 2 pins going on there in consecutive, or they do it at the same time. That's why it's the 2 non-captains pinning the 2 non-captains, and sometimes it's the captain pinning the captain. That's some traditional Lucha Libre in
Lucha Libre, everybody. That's Lucha Libre.
Yes. And you know what? It was kind of refreshing. I don't know about you, Deej, but it was kind of refreshing as an experience to get into. And what was your impression diving into this more conservative, traditional Lucha Libre?
I loved CMLL's production value and presentation. And the show as a whole was a bit vanilla, but I don't mean that as a bad thing. It was very straightforward. There wasn't much craziness to be had. There was very little room for error, because this is what CMLL does. They're doing it, and they will execute it because they've always executed it. However, PD Rave, there is one thing about CMLL that has always bugged me and that I don't quite get. What is up with the dancing girls? This is just something that I see at CMLL. I don't know why they're there. I don't know what purpose they serve. They don't even dance to the music that's playing half the time. They're just kind of rocking side to side for no real purpose when the wrestlers come out. And then rather than the cameraman keeping the camera on the performers in the ring, they go to the girls.
Yes.
Now, I kind of understand that, but I kind of don't.
Yeah.
The whole thing about the girls and having ring girls for the falls of the match.
I think I can understand the ring girls for the falls, but yeah, I definitely feel you on like the random dancing girls. Girls
Who barely dance.
Yes, who barely dance.
Like for
That's
later in the show, like the main event and everything, where it was like a big presentation and you had people dancing and all of that stuff. Yeah, I get that. But when they were just standing outside the ring, what
middle
are
of
they doing there?
yes, it was odd. It
Like,
was odd.
do they? What I had thought for a while is maybe some creative luchador working for CMLL could say, hey, maybe I could use them to choreograph something and we could do some kind of routine a la BB Hulk in Dragon Gate.
Yes.
Love BB Hulk. Oh my God.
Yeah.
But no, they're just kind of there and they're just kind of swaying back and forth.
Yeah.
And then the camera looks at them and then they go to the ring.
Yes.
I don't get it.
First of all,
I don't get it.
I don't know if they're I don't get it either necessarily. I mean, yeah, I don't get it either.
They're serving no purpose at all.
Yeah, other than standing there looking pretty. Mostly. Mostly. No, they're lovely girls. But that being said, getting into the wrestling action, what was your first impression when you finally got into the wrestling action? Things got going and you got to see some proper lucha.
It was definitely proper lucha. There was some good, there was some imperfect. And I will say that I really didn't get into any of the matches until the third match on the show.
Yeah. The first couple of matches were okay, good opening match. Probably got to see some cool talent there. The second match has some good names. And they're not big time names, but names that I think are important. I think will be important to note in the future. There's some good talent in the first couple of matches. Guys like El Fuego and guys like Puma and Vidus. Well, no, Vidus is the old guy.
I liked Dragon Rojo Jr. I liked him.
Dragon Rojo Jr. was pretty fantastic. Maximo, the world heavyweight champion over there at CMLL, who he draws that line of being kind of like an exotico, but he is the world heavyweight champion. So he wrestles as an I will give him that he does the exotico thing, but he is married, he has a son, but he's also the champ. He's one of the top talents. He wasn't wrestling in the main event this time, but he's got the strap.
Good for him.
So they consider him an important talent. So I will give them that. But yeah, the third match in the card, we get to see the farewell match to a talent that we've seen elsewhere, who's going to get a great opportunity to train young talent in the WWE Performance Center. We have the lady known as Sarita.
I must, Petey. I must. I occasionally have to do this with certain talents, like Sami Zayn, like Cesaro, like Daniel Bryan.
Yes.
In the case of the Dark Angel Sarah Stock, she is absolutely incredible. She is, in my own opinion, the perfect female wrestler. She is extremely talented athletically. She is a great talker in English and Spanish. If you see her do interviews, she's terrific. And of course, she is absolutely gorgeous. She is perfect. I remember first seeing her wrestle for Shimmer and just being blown away by how unbelievably talented she was. Truly, nobody else was on her level. And not only that, it wasn't that she was like a Joshi wrestler either. She was a luchadora, which for me at the time was so unique, seeing a woman doing the Lucha Libre style and not just doing it, but doing it at a very high level. And as a wrestling fan, I fell in love with the Dark Angel Sarah Stock. And I followed her career from the first time I saw her in Shimmer through TNA as Sarita. And now that she's leaving CMLL and she's heading to new opportunities at the Performance Center as a trainer, all I can hope for is that I'm hoping that that one cameo she made at the last NXT TakeOver special,
Yes.
I'm hoping that's just the beginning. And I'm hoping that Triple H, if you're out there, I hope you realize the talent that you have with her. And please, pretty please use her. She's so good.
Yeah.
She's so great. Please,
Yes.
Triple H, if you're out there, if the wrestling gods can relay this message to Triple H, just give him a few tapes of Sarah in Mexico, in Shimmer, and just, I hope Triple H realizes, whoa, this girl's amazing.
Yes.
We need her on TV. She's incredible.
Yes,
And-
she was fantastic.
Okay,
she had a
done.
pretty.
I'm done, Petey. I'm
Yes.
done.
She had a pretty good foil in Princesa Suhate, and they had a fun singles match. A good, nice, sizable match.
Oh, this was great. I would almost say this was the best match on the show. I think
Yes, this was
start to
up.
finish, it was probably the smoothest match on the show because
Yes.
one, they're both really, really good and they obviously know each other very well. Just for the history, it was Princesa Suhate that took Dark Angel's mask 11 years ago, that they said.
Yeah, it's they are familiar with each other and they put together a really cool match, and I think that was a good match to go out on. They gave her a plaque and flowers, and deservedly so. She put in a lot of time for CMLL, and I think it was definitely, I imagine, a bittersweet moment to kind of leave that place because, for if anything, no matter she's done great things all over the world, but I think in her heart, that was always like her passion was Mexico and Mexican wrestling.
Oh yeah.
And CMLL. She always would go back to that. She did her cup of coffee initially at AAA, but going where the traditional lucha lives, that was that I can almost assume that's her home. I think she's gonna have a great opportunity, but I imagine she's gonna miss it quite a bit.
I hope she's on NXT.
Yes,
Please, pretty please.
Maybe one time, one time match against each other, or maybe a one time tag team.
No, we're not going to go that far. I know what you're going to say, Petey, but I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that's going to happen. But I don't know. Maybe Sarah versus Charlotte. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. We can only hope.
Sarah versus Alexa Bliss, maybe?
Yeah.
Maybe? I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah.
Sarah versus Dark Angel versus Blue Pants, maybe?
Yes.
Maybe.
Dark versus Blue.
Please.
The new Negro versus Azul. It'll be Dark Angel versus Blue Pants. It'll be
Negro versus Azul.
Yes, but it was a fantastic
at the next NXT takeover in Mexico City.
Yes, that would be fantastic. And that brought us to, I think, the next match, which was also really, I think personally, really good and had a lot of really cool stuff. Had a lot going well for it. We had Dragon Lee, which is kind of a fantastic name, Dragon Lee, and the Sky Team, featuring the aforementioned Místico and Valiente, taking on La Peste Negra, the Dark Plague, or the Black Plague, which is Negro Casas, El Felino, and Mr. Niebla, which is kind of like they apparently they smell. At least
really,
from what I gather from the match and from the commentary. What was your impression on this match? This one has some cool stuff going on in it.
It's always great to see Mystico.
Yeah,
the current Mystico is actually pretty good. So
yeah,
That's cool for me.
Yeah, and it has some cool stuff going on. Establishing.
I guess the one problem that you can talk about with CMLL is one thing that is very different from CMLL in lots of other promotions is that there's no real global outreach. They don't really try to extend their brand to the rest of the wrestling public. AAA does, companies in Japan do, the indies do. There's always this kind of sort of international feel to all of these companies, but with CMLL, they are Lucha Libre, they play Arena Mexico. There's no need for English commentary or anything like that. They have their audience, and that makes it a little hard to break in.
Yeah.
But the few talents that I know, I'm always happy to see them.
Yes. And there's some fun talents, and this one was cool. And then it goes into the next one, which was an interesting one. It was Relevos Increíbles. It was what would we call it? Strange Bedfellows match or Lethal Lottery or Luxury, that style. We had a mix of Rudos and Technicos on both sides. We had Shocker, again another name to know in Lucha Libre. We had Ultimo Guerrero, no relation. Volador Jr., the captain, taking on two members of Los Ingobernables, the unruly or the ungovernable, teaming with Thunder.
No Tetsuya Naito for you New Japan fans out there. No Tetsuya Naito.
Not this night. No, he is a member of Los Ingobernables, which was fascinating because they had a lot of AAA talent on the Wrestle Kingdom show, and he was there repping the CMLL stable.
Well, New Japan and CMLL do have kind of a soft working relationship with one another. So they've had a few talent exchanges in the last few years. They've done some joint shows. So I guess Tetsuya Naito, with his recent change in disposition, joined Los Ingobernables.
Yeah. And they were teaming with Thunder. They did not say from down under, but he is from down under. He is an Australian luchador, allegedly.
Why not?
Yes, he is Australian, but he is following the luchador tradition, and not having his name public and wearing a mask.
Okay, all right. He's a luchador.
He's a luchador, full-on luchador. And I believe he's more of a Técnico, and Los Ingobernables are kind of riding that middle ground. They're more Rudo than anything, especially Rush, with his actions this match and the following.
And Naito in New Japan is definitely Rudo now.
Yes. He don't give up about anybody. This one was a fun match, I think so. We had the presence of Marco Corleone, formerly known as Mark Jindrak, and Volador Jr. is a talent to see. He's doing the body armor thing, which is fascinating.
Same with Shocker for you people that remembered the time he was in TNA.
Yes, Shocker. Some talents. What did you think of this strange Bedfellows match?
This was fun. I've always kind of questioned the idea behind the Increíbles matches. I don't really understand the point, but they usually end up fun regardless, and this was fun. Seeing Los Ingobernables do their shenanigans is always kind of fun, and that's really the best thing I can say about this, is that this was fun. It was kind of all over the place. It was the closest thing I would see from in CMLL to some of the really unruly, wild violence that can sometimes happen in AAA.
Exactly. And it did establish a little bit of a thread regarding Rush going into the main event, with him kind of causing the last fall with getting himself disqualified by attacking the ref, which, you know what, you don't touch the official. You don't put your hands on the official.
Except with every other time.
Yes, exactly. But he did put his hands on the official, and he was having none of that. And he got his team disqualified for the third fall. And that established a little mini thread into going into the main event of the evening. And we'll go into it. We had the classic, almost at this point traditional, I believe, at the anniversary shows.
The iconic.
The iconic at this point, almost at least for the most recent future, has been a mainstay for the anniversary shows. The Lucha de Apuestas, mask versus mask, high stakes, big match, you know, a lot on the line. We had the legendary, talk about a name to know in Lucha Libre, Atlantis, taking on the young kid, and we found out really young kid, La Sombra, who we didn't know his age before the match. That's a talk about traditional Lucha Libre. Yeah. We didn't know his name or an age. We found out
he's a young guy. He's a young guy.
Not to spoil things. Sorry, it's a spoiler. He ended up losing. Just putting that out there ahead of time.
But this was really good. This was really, really good. And this was more than just La Sombra bouncing and bumping all over for Atlantis, as you'll see from a lot of older luchadors, Mil Mascaras, while they kind of stand around and do nothing. Atlantis definitely held his own, and this was really, really good. The crowd was definitely into it. You could see how much it mattered, because at the end of the match, Atlantis was in the crowd signing people's masks. So you can see how important that was. But in the end, the young Rudo, La Sombra, lost the Lucha de Apuestas and lost his mask.
Yeah, and that was a big moment. And I loved the big moment, big match feel, especially at the end, and how much emotion was expressed.
And Petey, he cut a promo before taking the mask off.
Yes.
And he, given my understanding, he really put over Atlantis.
Yes.
But he also talked about his group. What it seemed like he's a part of Los Ingobernables.
Yes.
If you could give me a little bit of information of what he was saying, if you remember, before he took off the mask, because it seemed like it was very, very important.
Yeah. It was very important. He basically talked about how his motivation. He talked about his feeling on losing his mask. He gave Atlantis a shout out. He talked about his family. He thanked the people that supported him, if I remember correctly, and I could be misremembering. And I remember the big thing was he thanked his family, and he made sure to he asked I think you probably gathered, he asked his father specifically to take his mask. He invited his father into the ring to be the one to take his mask and give it to Atlantis. I think that's about as much as I can remember as far as the details. It was mostly kind of how you gathered it, mostly talking about the respect he had for Atlantis, and things like that. There was more, but I can't quite remember all the details off the top of my head, but it's definitely mostly that.
And this really put over, I think, for the uninitiated, just the significance of the Lucha de Apuestas and the significance of the mask in Lucha Libre. Yeah. How he really took this very, very seriously, because this will change his entire career forever.
Yeah. I mean, this is what happened to Volador Jr. last year, and I'm going back into the match. I was talking about the tying the thread, because this was best 2 out of 3 falls, and the first fall was the disqualification fall by surprise Rush putting his hands on the referee. 2 falls in a row, like consecutive, getting disqualification because of putting
Rush is going to get suspended.
Yes. Bud Selig can come after him now that he's not ruling baseball anymore. He's gonna start ruling other sports. The big moment, you could see his family all throughout outside of the ring, everyone emotional. You could see fans getting emotional, fans in La Sombra shirts getting emotional, like this moment, like his mom was crying and like understanding, but just because it was just a big emotional moment, and it mattered. I think that was one of the coolest things about how much this stuck to the traditions of lucha, in the sense of creating these moments that matter to the culture of lucha libre, which I think made for a more enjoyable show. I think between the two, at least for me, on balance. And of course, we're talking about specifically just these 2 shows. I don't know, Deej, how would you balance these 2? What would you think you liked better in one or the other? How would you kind of like differentiate what you liked more in one or the other?
I see positives and negatives in both. I see positives and negatives in AAA in that they are attempting to welcome people into what they do. On the negative side, they are clearly not ready for prime time on a technical level, and that is unfortunate. They tried. It was not a complete failure, but it was a miss, and I hope they figure it out. Also, no more Villanos.
Yeah.
No more Villanos.
Yes, no more Villanos. I and there was a lot of discussion on that match, and I didn't want to dwell on it, but I think it's worth talking about. The Villanos versus Psycho Circus. It really was essentially, I believe, Psycho Clown carrying 5 people on a match by himself. Villano 3, I get. He just had a stroke. Probably doesn't go, and you want to have this match. Maybe he doesn't need to be in the ring.
I'm guessing that's probably his last match.
Well, we know it's his last match. Maybe he didn't need to have a match.
At least we know that was the end. I think that was that was another one of those Lucha Libre things that I was willing to let go.
Yeah, I think it was uncomfortable. I didn't want one of the big things that I didn't want to dwell on. I didn't want to be like piling on this match because I understood what was going on.
And I was simply just going to say, we'll leave that match as it is.
Yeah.
Jumping over to CMLL, the positives and negatives that I saw from that was that production-wise and work rate-wise, it was pretty much flawless. Everybody from the top of the card to the bottom was on point. The negatives were it was very insular. It did next to nothing to welcome a new first-time viewer.
Yeah.
Which in the case of a wrestling promotion that has been around for over 80 years, they probably assume that you really don't have to. If you're at Arena Mexico, you know what you're watching. If you're watching this on TV, you know what you're watching. And for me, or for Petey, or for anyone out there that might be checking this show out and checking out CMLL for the first time, it's hard to find out what the stories are.
Yeah.
And I would like to see if CMLL will work on that, but I'm not getting my hopes up.
I will say it took me took me till the second to last match to figure out what I explained in the beginning of the show. I mean, not the beginning, the beginning of our discussion of CMLL. It took me like deducing things from visual cues to figure out how the Lucha Libre rules worked. But yeah, there is a barrier to entry with CMLL. There's a lot of talent there. There's a lot of tradition there. There's a lot of young talent there. For being the more conservative of the and more traditional of the two, it did showcase a lot of young talent. Yes, it had the veterans, obviously, your Shockers, your Atlantis, and quite a few here and there. But those veterans can still go. Especially Atlantis, he can still go. He's up there, but and he wasn't doing his full Mystico routine.
It reminded me of Jushin Thunder Liger.
Exactly. He can still go. He does everything right. He creates the match. He works with the other person. He's receptive to the young talent. He can help them, and they help him.
And the main event was flawless.
Yeah, it was fantastic, and it created a great match. But yeah, the positives and negatives. So I think overall, what we're saying is they both have their things, and there's gold in their hills, as one Bret Hibbert would say. But AAA being probably your easiest entry if they can get their production on point. And honestly, if they just have that last thing, maybe tone down your twists, your overuse of the turns, maybe turn those down. That one is probably they're getting there. It's just they don't seem to be ready for prime time. And CML, I don't think I think they're established. They have.
What's up with the dancing girls?
We need to know. Somebody tell us.
They barely move.
Yeah,
if they
were better dancers.
They should probably dance a little more.
Exactly. I mean, we need to know. We need to be informed.
At Fanny Pack WP on Twitter.
Yes, exactly. Let us know. That's it. Overall, what's your thought on the Lucha mainstream?
It was enjoyable. As a wrestling hipster and a wrestling nerd, I always enjoy the consideration to take a trip down to Mexico and spend an evening at Arena Mexico and check out some lucha. And if you're interested, give it a shot.
Yeah. It might be a little harder to do it, but go and try it. Check it out. There are ways. You can get it.
Be on the Rudo side, be on the Technico side. Just
exactly.
Have some
if you have Galavisión on your CV plan, you can probably catch some CMLL. I think I forget which one's on Galavisión nowadays.
I believe that's CMLL.
Yeah, exactly. So you can check out some CMLL, see some traditional lucha, if you want to get nerdy with it. So check it out.
And if you like some of the talent that you saw in AAA, they will be back for season 2 of Lucha Underground in 2016.
Yeah.
The hype is real. Oh God, I'm so happy.
I'm gonna have to catch up.
Take it home, Petey.
All right.
Take it home.
That brings us to the end of another fantastic episode of the Fanny Pack Wrestling Podcast. We will be back with regularity. We've taken our probiotics and we will be regular again. Deej.
Oh, Petey, I don't want to do this. No, I don't. Let's
do the thing.
Just hit the music.
All right. Deej is at Just Call Me DJM. I'm at PD Rave. PD isn't Williams. Rave is Jimmy, all in one word. Fanny Pack WP. FannyPackWrestling.com. Rebellion.net for this and other shows. Rebellion TV on YouTube.
Hit the music.
We're on iTunes, Stitcher, all over the place. Until next time, hasta los huevos.
Oh, there were like no arm drags in either of these shows. Not a single arm drag.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
What was that, DJ?
There were like no arm drags in this entire show.
Yeah, no arm drags.
Chikara lies.
Yes. Quackenbush.
Quackenbush. Is there a way to like put that at the beginning or the end of the show in podcast form?
I'm sure I can do that.
Do that. It's funny.
Quackenbush. Well, look at the end.
There were no arm drags. Quackenbush.
Yeah, I think I just leave it in where I did it.
Perfect.
Where we talked about it. All right. That's saved. Let me see. Is it okay? Saved. And then I'm gonna save it again, and I might save it a third time. What? Okay. It's not letting me save. Okay. Good. You already saved it. Audition's like, it's okay. You already saved it.
Did you save the file, PD?
Yes, I did.
All
and
right.
Audition was like, it's okay. It's like they grayed out the save thing. I could do save as, but they grayed out the save. It's like, it's okay.
We got
Saved
it. We got it.
We got it. It's okay. Like, but I want to say no.
We got it.
We got it. Okay.
Oh, righty, PT Ray.
So the next episode, whenever we want to do it, I think the easiest one to do right away, Beyond Wrestling.
Yeah,
we can do, and I'm thinking they just launched Beyond Demand.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking we can do from Beyond Demand, specifically the last one, the latest show they have. I think it's Life Sucks and Then You Die.
Okay.
Then the only thing I gotta figure out, guests. All right, we can talk about this off the air. Let's do it in the back room. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. We're gonna talk about business.
This is not for you.
But maybe you, but not you.
No. None of you.